list of all of our class meetings. There we go. So we're recording now. And so let's think here. 2 classes ago, we went over the basics of a rough cut, right? Getting footage in, starting a project, setting ins and outs, getting rid of action and cut calls and things like that. Last class, we went over the polish cut. We talked about titles. We talked about transitions. We talked about music and audio gain and stuff like that. And so it's with the final piece of the puzzle, which is exporting and getting the finished product out of the editing software so that we can deliver it to the world. So if I go to Premiere here, whoop, there it is. Here's our little number one. We're going to kind of go through the steps here. But as you can see, my movie is complete. I've got my music and my transitions, and everything looks perfect now. And I love the way that it looks. I make sure that I have a clean timeline. So I'm ready. I'm ready to export. I'm ready to spit this out, right? Import, when we begin, we import, we bring things into Premiere. And when we're done, we export, we get things out of Premiere. All right. So the first thing that we need to do is make sure the timeline is clean. Let's slide this over a little bit so we can read it. There we go. Make sure the timeline is clean. And basically what I mean by that is, when you're editing, sometimes, especially as we get more and more involved and more in depth, you might end up like, grabbing a clip and you'll just place it out here just to hang on to it for later in case you need it. Or maybe when you import the music is really long, but you've been working in kind of the zoomed in mode and you're just looking, all right, my movie perfect. But what's going to happen is when you go to export, you're going to export all this extra junk too. And we don't want that. So we need to make sure that our timeline is clean and there's no extra pieces floating around out there and that our song ends at the right time and that we're in business. All right, the second thing that we want to do is to save the project because exporting is a very CPU intensive time. We're basically going to be pushing our computers to the limit. You'll see the CPU usage on your computer jump to 100%. And so that's always a chance for our computers to have a hiccup and crash on us. So we always, before we export, we want to hit File, Save. We want to save what we're doing and make sure that we don't lose any work. That would be bad. All right, so we're going to save our project. The third thing we're going to do is we are going to click the timeline. So what I mean by this is you see that when I click around in Premiere, oops, I just created a new text. There we go. When I click around in Premiere, the different boxes get circled in a blue rectangle, right? If I click up here, this one's blue. Heck, I can click over here and this one's blue. I can click over here and this one's blue. And when you go to export, it's going to try to export whichever one of these is highlighted. So if you click this box and you have this highlighted, when you go to export your movie, it's going to export this raw footage shot, not your final project. So that's not good. So we want to click down here so that this is highlighted and so that this is the thing that we're exporting. We're going to export all these little bits and pieces and we're going to smash them into one piece. All right, so we've done that. We've clicked at the timeline. Now we are going to do thing number 4, which is to click File, Export, Media. So I go up here, I go File, Export, Media. And if you're really fancy, you can just hit the shortcut of Control M, but this is pretty easy. File, Export, Media. And when I open that up, I get up my export settings window here. And once I get my export settings, I like to check. I don't really know how to say this. I call it scrubbing. You'll hear people call it scrubbing. Scrub the export window. And that means to kind of grab this little blue handle here and kind of just check. Make sure, yep, credits are at the end, titles at the front. This is what I want. This looks right. If you go back a step and you mess up and you accidentally have this window selected and hit File, Export Media, and you go to scrub the window, you'd be like, this doesn't look like my movie. Where's my titles? Where's my graphics? Where's my transitions? Where's my, it's not here. So that's not right. So that's kind of a checker, right? Step 5 kind of checks to make sure that you click this window, the timeline down here, and then you hit export media. And it just makes sure also that you're exporting the whole thing. The blue line should be the whole thing. Sometimes you can accidentally be kind of only exporting half of the video. That's no good. So we want to make sure that it's on entire sequence and we can see the whole movie there. All right, next step is the format. Up here needs to be H dot, that's a capital H, H.264. And H.2, so in format, you see there's a whole bunch of options. You can export Premiere, like I said, is a very, very powerful program. You can export animated GIFs, Apple ProRes, uncompressed video, Blu-ray, MP3s, Windows audio, waveform, all JPEG sequences. I mean, you can export a lot of stuff out of here. We want to make sure that we're exporting H.264. H.264 is a language that video is written in that is very efficient. It will give you very nice looking video for a very small file size. And it's basically the language that enables high def video to exist. Without H.264, you would not be able to watch high def or 2K or 4K video on YouTube just streaming over the internet. Uncompressed video is very, very big. So we need to make sure that we compress it using this H.264 language so that it is a reasonable file size and doesn't fill up our computers with a ton of space, right? So we choose that option. And I believe that once you choose that option, you won't have to choose it again. Like for your next project, it should just stay there. Don't quote me on that, but I'm 95% sure it's just going to stay there until you change it to something else, which is good. So H.264 there for the format. The next thing we need to look at is the output name. And you see that right below it, it's got the blue. And right now, if I were to be done, it would try to name my movie IMG_4174, which is not a good name for a movie. So I'm going to click on that link, that little blue, and it's basically going to pop up this window and it's asking me, hey, where do you want to put this video and what do you want to call it? So, you know, you could put it right on your desktop if you really want, export it right to your desktop and name it whatever, or you could export it to your downloads folder for some reason, or your Google Drive folder. But I, as an editor, am all about cleanliness and organization. That is what editors are all about. So I am going to throw mine in my videos folder and then inside the wake up folder, which is where all my project and raw footage are and everything. So that's the folder I'm looking at. And then down here in file name, I am going to name it the name of my movie, which I've titled Wake Up. And I'm going to put final, Wake Up Final. We always title things with a big all caps final. So I'm going to say output name is movie name final, like that. And that's really important when we're back at school because, you know, when I come to collect your projects, and I look in your project folder, there's going to be a ton of stuff in there, all sorts of files and sound effects and clips and pictures. And it's like really hard to find the right footage unless I'm looking for that big all capitalized final. And that makes it really easy to find. And that basically also tells the client, this is the final version. It's not a preview version. It's not whatever. This is the real one. So I'm in my wake up folder. I call it wake up final. I hit save. You see it updates. It now says wake up final right here. And when I hover over it, it shows me the location where it's going to save. And now I'm ready for the final step, which is to click export. Down here at the bottom, export. When I click it, Premiere starts to work. It's smashing all my pieces together. My CPU spikes to 100% usage. And boom, it's done. I have a fast computer. Yours might take a little longer, a little shorter. That all depends on length of movie, how many effects, how many pieces you have, and how fast your computer is. My video was exported successfully. Fantastic. If I go and look in my Kyle videos wake up folder, I see there's a new file there called wake up final. And when I double click it and play it, it opens up in my media player and I can watch my movie in its full completed beautiful form. It's got the music, it's got the transitions, it's got the titles. I always like to watch it before I turn it in or send it to anybody. Um, you don't want to send something to a client's site unseen. You never know what you forgot to change or whatever the case may be. There we go. Movie looks good. It ends at the right time. Perfect. And so my movie is done. And then this is the file that I would upload to Teams to turn in as my work, or put on Google Drive, or put on Microsoft OneDrive and share a link with me on the assignment so that I can watch your final project. Don't make the mistake of trying to give me this purple project file. That is not a movie. If you double click that, it opens Premiere. And so if someone doesn't have Premiere, that purple file does them no good. And even if they do have Premiere and you send me your purple file, I don't have any of your raw footage, so it really does me no good. This movie file, if you double click it and it plays a movie, that's the file. Oh boy, now I've done it. That's the file that you want to send to your whatchamacallit, your client, as it were. All right. So let's see here. Let's kill this. Done with that movie. So here's Premiere. So that's the process for exporting from Premiere. If you are doing it on your phone, it's a slightly different process. Where are you, phone? There you are. So if we go into Rush and I open up my project that I've been working on, and I have to enable preview for some reason. There we go. And here's my movie. Last class, I figured out also the color function on Rush, and you can kind of add this kind of, there's different kind of stylized looks. So I kind of gave it that matrixy green look on my footage. I don't know, just to do it. Again, it's kind of Xbox theme, so I thought green was kind of the way to go. All right, so we've got our footage here, and we're ready to export. It's a lot in Rush because Rush is kind of always saving and making sure that things are correct. So the first step that we have to do to export into Rush is to make sure the timeline is clean, which is a little bit easier in Rush because everything kind of stacks together. It's kind of hard to have something floating out way at the end, but again, we want to make sure that it's all good before we do anything. The second step that we do in Rush is to press the share button. It's kind of a universal symbol these days of the arrow kind of pointing away from the box. You can see it there in the upper right-hand corner up here. So if I click that button, it comes up ready to export. Exporting saves the video to your camera roll. For quality settings, I think we can just leave that alone because when I open it up, it's set on automatic and the resolution, the frame rate look good to me. I suppose we could make sure that it's on 1080p 30 frames a second, or 1080p match frame rate would probably be better. But I think honestly we can just leave it on automatic. I don't think we need to mess with that. I think the phone is going to make a pretty good decision there. And then press export. It's pretty simple, but because it's simplicity, right, you don't get as much flexibility, right? So we click export. Oh, it says it's mad because I already have a version in my camera roll. But once you click export, here it is here. But of course, it won't let me play it for you guys. But if I turn the volume on, you can hear it. But my screen sharing software does something wonky when it tries to play a video. It doesn't like that. But it will be in your camera roll, and then you can share that that file. You can upload that one or throw it on Google Drive, or whatever works for you to get it to me. right? That's the goal there, is once you export it, you've got that final piece and you need to get it onto Teams or onto Google Drive or onto Microsoft OneDrive and give me a link, because I need to look at your finished product. And make sure that you are doing the work, because the more of this you do, the better you will get. It's very much just it's like going to the gym, right? The more you do it, the stronger you get. I can't remember the Hawaiian phrase, but it basically translates to the knowledge is in the work. The more that you do, the better you will get, and it will become second nature to you. And this is a very useful skill to have, as you guys know. Um, so we've got our Premiere version, we've got our Rush version. Both of those are totally acceptable. I know some people were saying, I had a very few people though are kind of unable to get anything to work, but I'm working on solutions for them as well, so that way everyone is kind of included. Um, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's definitely doable. All right, let's see here. Taha is asking, can we export with a different aspect ratio to mimic the anamorphic lens real films use? So that's kind of an advanced question, but I'll go over it right now. If you are editing in Premiere, there it is. If you're editing in Premiere and you want to not work in the 16:9 aspect ratio that your phone or your camera likely shoots in, you kind of have to do that from the get-go. You can change it later. So if you go to sequence settings, you'll see, why don't I have, maybe I need this one. Oh, nope, that's still kind of a mess. What did I do wrong here? Because you can't see my window when I accidentally closed it. Oh, it's there. It's just super dark for some reason. It's weird. Why is it getting darker and darker? Oh, it's because of that. Here, let me try this trick. Let's try this. Oh boy. Oh brother. Oh brother. All right. Let's see here, people. I've messed it up. All right, let's try. Let's try this here. There we go. That looks correct. Go here. Go here, and then share that. Sorry about this, guys. All right. There we go. All right. So then if we go to this, still super dark, but whatever. And it doesn't want to show this window. What the heck? It's totally working like 10 minutes ago. Now it's decided to fight me. Okay, did we get it? Did we get it? Sequence settings. Yes, kind of. Very slow. Okay, so if you want to work in something that's not 16:9, which is whatever, it's your call, you go to sequence settings and you change the frame size to the different aspect ratio that you want. And so if you're working in anamorphic, which is usually 2.39 to 1 aspect ratio, or 2.35, you can do either one. Then the resolution, you're basically cutting off the top and the bottom of the screen, and you change it to resolution. Let's think here. My brain is fighting me. 1080p 2.35. It's 2.39 is 1920 by 803. There we go. And that should get you 2.39 to 1. Hit OK. And then you see it makes my window more widescreen. That's the aspect ratio when you go to see things in movies. But you need to remember when you shoot then that you're basically going to be cutting off the top and the bottom of the frame. And you need to frame accordingly. Like you see that when I sit up, I kind of lose my head a little bit. My feet are kind of different. So that's something you really need to plan from the beginning if you're going to shoot in a different aspect ratio. Um, but yeah, you can change your sequence settings in Premiere to be a different ratio. So 1920 by 803 gets you 2.39 to 1. But I'm going to keep it 1920 by 1080 and go back to my original aspect ratio of 16 by 9. So everything looks normal and good. Wow, that was a lot of in-depth stuff there. Yeah, 816, you can do that. That's 2.35 if you're doing 2.35 and 2.39 are kind of different anamorphic ratios. So basically what we are doing now is you guys are having some time to edit your videos with me here to help you. And you can pop off mute and ask questions. And then we have an exit ticket at the end of the period, which is to show off your editing. And then the assignment, which is due tomorrow night, is to export and turn in your finished video. Let's stop recording here.